If I asked you how much money do you need to never work again, most people would probably say 1, 2, maybe even $5 million. But here's the strange part. There isn't actually a correct answer, because the amount of money you need depends far less on your bank account than where you decide to live and how you spend that money. Imagine earning $60,000 a year in New York City. You might feel like you're constantly behind. Rent eats up half your paycheck. You think twice before eating out. Vacations become something you'll do next year. Buying a home feels impossible. Now imagine that same income in Colombia, Portugal, Thailand, or Peru. Suddenly, you're eating at restaurants, taking weekend trips, saving money every month, hiring help, a maid, learning another language, and maybe even working a little bit less. The same paycheck, completely different lifestyles. So maybe the real question isn't how much money do I need? It's where will my money actually give me the life I want? Most people spend their entire lives trying to optimize one thing, their income. A higher salary, a better job, another promotion. Almost nobody spends time optimizing where they spend that income. And that might actually be the bigger variable. Because money has no value on its own. Its value comes from what it can buy. $100,000 isn't worth the same everywhere. Neither is $1 million. That's why two people making exactly the same salary can live completely different lives. One feels trapped, the other feels wealthy. Not because they earn differently, but because they spend differently. Here's something that completely changed the way I think about money. According to the latest World Inequality Report, someone earning roughly $65,500 a year already belongs to the richest 10% of income earners on Earth. Think about that. Someone making $70,000 in America may feel painfully average. Meanwhile, they're earning more than roughly 90% of adults worldwide. Now compare that to the United States. The median US household income is about $84,000 a year. To reach the top 10%, you're looking at roughly $250,000 a year in America. And the top 1%, several $100,000 annually. So which leaderboard are you playing on? Because the answer completely changes how wealthy you feel. There's actually a name for this concept, GeoArbitrage. It sounds complicated, but the idea is incredibly simple. Earn your money in a strong economy, then spend it where your money goes much further. Sometimes that happens because of the cost of living is lower, and sometimes it's because the exchange rates are better. Sometimes it's both. An exchange rate is simply the value of one country's currency compared to another. If you're earning in a strong currency like the US dollar and spending it in a country with a weaker currency, then your currency has a greater purchasing power. Every paycheck suddenly stretches much further. GeoArbitrage isn't really about living cheaply, it's about increasing the quality of your life without necessarily increasing your income. Sometimes it's not about spending less, it's about getting so much more for the exact same money. I actually experienced this firsthand. When I graduated college, I wasn't rich, I didn't have a six-figure job, I wasn't running an online business, I didn't own rental properties, and I wasn't making money on YouTube. I had about $5,000. That was everything. So I sold my car, packed everything I owned into one suitcase, bought a one-way ticket, and moved to Ecuador. Over the next 2 years, I lived in Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru. To support myself, I taught English. I made about $500 per month. By American standards, that sounds like poverty. But because the cost of living was dramatically lower, it worked. I wasn't living in luxury, but I wasn't trying to. I was living an adventure. And honestly, what I gained was worth far more than the money I could have made staying home. I became fluent in Spanish, I climbed mountains I'd only ever seen in documentaries, I learned to paraglide, I trained kung fu, I explored ancient ruins, I walked through cloud forests, I crossed the Andes, I traveled into the Amazon. I made friends from all over the world and experienced cultures that completely changed how I see the world. Those 2 years taught me more about the world and about myself than any entry-level job ever could have. Even on a small income, I ate healthier, I walked more, I spent more time outdoors, felt less stressed, and had some of the greatest adventures of my life. But looking back, I realized something. I did it the hard way. Imagine if before I left, I had spent just 2 or 3 years building one small income stream. Maybe a YouTube channel, a rental property, a dividend investment, freelance work, an online business. Even an extra $1,000 per month would have completely changed that experience. Instead of simply making enough to get by, I'd be thriving. Instead of worrying about every expense, I'd be free to say yes to even more experiences. Instead of trading all of my time for money, my assets would be helping me fund the adventure. Instead of coming back after 2 years, I could have stayed and traveled indefinitely. That's when I realized something important. Financial freedom isn't about reaching retirement. It's about creating options to travel, to learn, to move, to say yes, and to live while you're still young enough to fully enjoy your life. One thing I've noticed is that people often delay living their lives until they hit that magical financial milestone. I'll travel once I make $1 million or hit 6 figures. I'll learn another language after I retire. I'll move abroad someday, but someday has a funny way of never arriving. Your health changes, your responsibilities grow, careers become harder to leave, families expand, life becomes more complicated. That's why I don't think wealth is just measured by your net worth. I think it's measured by your freedom to choose where you live, who you spend time with, what you learn, and how you spend your time. Money isn't valuable because you can collect more of it. Money is valuable because it buys time, experiences, freedom, and opportunities, and the memories you'll carry for the rest of your life. Most people spend decades trying to earn enough money to finally start living. But maybe you don't need as much money as you think. Maybe you simply need a different strategy, a different perspective, a different map. Because life isn't about reaching the highest number in your bank account. It's about designing a life you're excited to wake up to. Look, if this life was a video game, you only get one character, one playthrough, one life. Don't spend the entire game standing in the starting city, farming gold on the auction house. Go explore, learn a language, meet incredible people, go on that amazing adventure. Because the best investment you'll ever make probably won't be another stock or crypto. It'll be the person you become along the way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.